Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. As Josh in the comments is saying, good time for a coffee break. As always, thanks so much for hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. We've got D-Mac, Will Peterson, Rachel Beal hanging out with you. You guys, the Avs, they got their first game out of their 5-game home game stand, and they get a win over over Philly, 3-2 last night. Yeah, you got your water bottle from Ball Arena, D-Mac. You always got to leave one, but they looked pretty solid last night, for still not being a complete Colorado Avalanche team. I think Francouz played really well too, Will.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they're going to win games this time of year, it's going to be like 3-2. They don't have the firepower to beat teams 6-4 right now. So, yeah, I know Arturi Lehkonen had a great night last night. Devontae's had a good night. Compher had a good night. And Francouz, I mean, D-Mac, fill us in. I saw what you're saying, that he's making saves like at the buzzer to preserve the 3-2 win.
Well, I think JT Compher had a really good game, but he was losing faceoffs late, and that doesn't help. And they're trying to score empty netters that leave faceoffs in the zone. I mean, Francouz stopped a puck with his blocker at the horn. Yeah. So it didn't come without a little worry in the final 11 seconds. That being said, John Tortorella, the head coach of the Flyers, is super aggressive, pulled the goalie with 4 minutes to go, and they cashed in. And then you're like, well, okay, maybe, oh, no, we're going to keep an empty net with more than 3 minutes to go. So really super aggressive play from John Tortorella. He didn't have much of a choice, though. The Flyers just didn't generate all that much offense. Jared Bednar even afterwards said he wasn't really worried when the Avs were down 1-0, and I wasn't either. The question is, if it doesn't come from Mikko Rantanen, who do the goals come from? Right. In the 4 previous games, they had 7 goals. Mikko had 5 of them. So last night you got you got a shorthanded goal, which is always awesome, right? And then you got JT Compher, really nice goal, and you got Taves with like he's charging the net, which is highly unusual. He's a defenseman, and here he is, getting a really slick pass from JT Compher right at the goalie, right at the net, and converting. So, a really different game in terms of scoring production. A nice win against a team that they're definitely better than. But you can see what the difference is when you have at least one really good top line with Rantanen, Lehkonen, and with Nichushkin. It just frees up everything else. It puts more pressure on the other team and allows the other lines to flourish. A note, Alex Newhook was playing on the 4th line, and JT Compher was 2C. Afterwards, Bednar was asked about Compher and Logan O'Connor playing on the 2nd line, and he actually said, I'm looking forward to when they're back on the 4th line, because that means the better guys will be back. What that really means, and he wasn't trying to do it or insult him, but where does Alex Newhook really fit on this team? That's a question.
Well, I'm going to let you take it, because obviously we all remember the clip that went semi-viral here for Coffee Break with you on Alex Newhook.
Yeah, listen, if they're still this unhealthy and Newhook's on the 4th line, I think that tells you all you need to know. You know who Alex Newhook's going to be, you guys? He's going to be Tyson Jost. Gone come February. They got a piece in Nico Sturm that they didn't even really use, but the thing with Jost just wasn't really working. Thing with Newhook just not really working. They get anything for him at the deadline, they're going to move on. At least that's my gut opinion, D-Mac.
Well, they're using a Colorado Eagles line for the 3rd line rather than Alex Newhook. At least they did last night. And, JT's not your permanent 2C. So they got to, but Evan Rodriguez will be coming back. And then the sexiest name by a mile would be Ryan O'Reilly, who has an expiring contract with the Blues. And he'd probably be a rental. You probably wouldn't be getting him for more than the back half of this season. Unless you just, never mind the back half of the season, you could do a deal tomorrow if you just knew it. And the Blues aren't going anywhere. So, I only hesitate just a pinch because I'm just a little wary of older guys, as much as we all love, and I love Ryan O'Reilly. He was my favorite player back when he was with the Avalanche. But I think Newhook's time is done. And then, who else are you going to give up? Jean-Luc Foudy, who's a big dude, by the way. I ran into him in the locker room. I was like, oh, Foudy, my goodness. So kind of, he's only like 20 years old, too. And then you got like Oscar Olesen, You got some other young guys down. Down. They're up and down all the time, right? So we'll see what happens with the Avs, but I think Newhook's time is ticking. I'm just happy the Avs got a nice win, sold out crowd, and getting points in this homestand is so important. They got a really good 2 points last night.
I think putting Alex Newhook and Tyson Jost in the same category actually makes a lot of sense. And D-Mac, I was going to ask you about the crowd because, to be honest, when I was watching on TV, I saw quite a few, Philly fans out there. When they scored, they were all standing up close to the ice. So I was wondering, was it a home crowd or was it almost like the Bruins?
No. That I've never seen anything like the Bruins game in years and years and years. That was ridiculous. Okay, there's always fans. There's like Calgary Flames fans there. It's a great place to come, Colorado, Stanley Cup champions. They come out of their weird little, woodwork. But Philly knows they suck. And they're not, they're a little better than last year, but they're no good. So, no, it wasn't like that. The Bruins fans, there's a lot of them because it sucks living in Boston. I should know. And they're just annoying and probably drunk, and the team's good. So they're louder for all of those reasons. And it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. They're Boston fans. They're perpetually hammered. How you like them apples?
How you like them apples? Okay, well, I do want to move on.
Let me make one quick point on the trade thing. They traded a top-tier prospect for Arturi Lehkonen last year. Lehkonen scored the goal in overtime to get you to the Stanley Cup final. He scored major goals in the final. And the prospect, anyone remember his name? I think I know it, but I'm asking you to.
I'll know it if you say it, but I don't know it.
I think it was Justin Barron. Does that sound right?
That's that's either right or darn close. It's something like that.
But I think you guys are getting my point on prospects, right? Prospects, they're nice. They're fun. D-Mac can tell us Jean-Luc Foudy is a big dude at 20 years old. If Jean-Luc Foudy turns into Ryan O'Reilly and helps me win another cup, I'll take it.
Yeah, and that's really quick. That's exactly who theoretically the Blues would want. If you're rebuilding, that's where the Avalanche were years and years ago. You needed to do that to build things up. So, the Avs are in a good spot. Listen, it is a win now sort of situation for probably this year and next year too. So if you think you can get it done, Scott McFarland and Joe Sakic, go for it. And don't waste any time. Listen, I think the book's written on Alex Newhook with this organization. So just get it done.
And Will got all the hatred for it. Jake always on the back end gives us incredible stats. He said 39 different skaters played for the Avs last year. We're already up to 35 this year. Dang, that's crazy. Okay, well, we do want to move on to Sunday's game because obviously news came out yesterday. Kyler Murray is going to be out for the rest of the season after tearing his ACL in the third play against the Patriots. We pray for a speedy recovery for Kyler, obviously, with an ACL. But that leaves Colt McCoy versus Brett Rippon, where obviously we're not 100% if Russ is out yet. That has not been confirmed. We'll probably find out today, depending on what quarterback speaks, I'm assuming. But you guys, it could be the battle of the backup QBs, and who's the better backup? Will?
I would much rather have Colt McCoy than Brett Rippon. He's significantly more established in this league. He won a lot in college. He's just been around a long time. Guys, it feels like Colt McCoy played in the national title game for Texas. And remember, he had that moment he couldn't throw, and his dad went in the locker room. It was like 15 years ago at this point. So, yeah, I would trust McCoy more. I think the bigger storyline here, though, Mason and I were talking about it last night on the show. Tickets are $35 on Ticketmaster. We thought the reckoning was going to happen for the Chiefs game, but guess what? It was still Mahomes. It was still a nice day. Only a couple thousand no-shows. It's going to be a chunk colder on Sunday. It very well could be two backups, and you could probably get in the door for $20 by the time kickoff rolls around. You two are going to be in the press box looking up in the second quarter going, there might be 20,000 empty seats here.
I literally was going to have this question for later on in the show, but can we try and guess the attendance and see who's right? Because, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of empty seats come Sunday.
I don't think Cardinals fans travel.
No.
Why would they? They're in Phoenix, and it's cold. What is the temperature supposed to be on Sunday? Because that might have a lot to do with it. It is a meaningless game against two bad teams with no star quarterbacks, theoretically. Well, I'm here at the Broncos right now. That's why I'm sitting in my car. I'm not living in it yet. I I don't know, man. I don't. What is the temperature supposed to be? Why would you go to this game?
Said 44 and sunny.
Oh,
I thought we were
that's
supposed to be in the 20s for like the next week, though.
Well, 44 and sunny is actually
That's not bad
great for this time of year. I don't know. I bet it's 10,000 no shows, something like that. You know, the crowd always surprises you. You're always surprised that who really does go to games, and if tickets really are that cheap, and people are just giving away their tickets. You got to understand the Broncos games are sold out. I mean, all the tickets are sold. So people still show. Every game's technically a sellout. It's about the no-shows. Yeah. I think people will just give them away as, like, you know, holiday presents. You know, Happy Hanukkah. Here's a couple Broncos tickets. Merry Christmas early.
Gave me a Broncos ticket to the Cardinals Broncos Sunday game, I'd be pissed.
But if you
That'd
never
be like
go
getting
to
gold in my stocking.
Yeah, I'd be like, come on, man.
Well, you guys, but we're spoiled brats. We are spoiled brats because we get to go to too many games. If you never get to go to a game and you're offered tickets, you're probably going to go. Going to see what it's all. You just, you know, whatever.
I guess, yeah. You're like
how exciting.
If you're a kid, though, like I used to go to preseason games, but I didn't ever notice the difference. Okay, so yeah, okay. When I was little, you know, my aunt would be like, all right, let's go to this preseason game. And I was like, we're going to a football game, because you don't know the difference when you're like 8 years old.
You don't know. No, and we listen, we're so ensconced in all of it. The sense of excitement of going to an NFL game is lost on us cynical jerks. You know, it's still a cool thing to do if you've never done it, and you're telling me it's 44 degrees. I'll go 10,000 no-shows, which is still a lot. It would be the most of the entire year, but I don't think it's going to be like 20,000 or something like that. You know, don't forget, as much as we're down on Nathaniel Hackett, he's not hated. People don't hate Nathaniel Hackett. There's not that venom for him like there was with Josh McDaniels.
Okay. Well, how many do you think?
Well, it depends on what they're announcing versus what the actual count is, right? I'm with you.
Cynical jerk. Here it comes.
They'll announce somewhere around, I'll say 8 or 9, because they don't want to go to 5 digits. They don't want to go to 10. They'll announce at 8-5. But if you guys did a seat count, if you sat there and counted like the jelly beans in the jar and you tried to get how many, you guys would be close to 15,000.
See, I was going to say like 13,000. I mean, you guys, these are two horribly bad teams. You're not seeing a star quarterback out of either team, obviously. So I'm going 13. I'm writing these down. We're going to come back next week, or at least on Twitter on Sunday after they announce it. So we'll see who's the winner. Maybe we could place a coffee bet or something on it. I don't know.
But it won't be a protest no-show. Like the protest no-show was against Josh McDaniels against the Rams, St. Louis Rams at the time. And that was, we hate you. We hate you, Josh McDaniels, and we're not showing up for the game. I mean, this has all the makings. A non-conference home game for a meaningless season with backups. I get you. You know, it'll be interesting. This will be an interesting sort of test to see how the Broncos fans really are feeling. Would you turn down, here's a question, would you turn down free tickets to this game on Sunday?
Yes.
No. Oh, yeah. You would?
Yeah. No, I mean, unless I was going with someone who had never been, like you said, like you both said, and it was going to be special for them. No, if someone came to me and said, hey, you can go sit in the stands for free, I'm going to pass. Because, by the way, guys, 44 and sunny, okay, that's fine for kickoff. But by the third quarter, it's half dark, and it's back in the 20s, and you're freezing, and there's traffic, and there's drunk people, and there's overpriced.
No one said you had to stay the whole time.
What's that?
No one said you had to stay the whole time. You just got to go.
Okay, but think about what a hassle it is to go to a game and how expensive it is, even when tickets are free. Because you want a hot dog and a beer and a bag of peanuts, that'll be $41. So I'm not exactly getting out of there for free.
Oh, my God, Will. Holy cow. You're killing me here, dude. I'm talking about an average person who doesn't go to these things getting free tickets. You know, I'm not talking. Will, seriously, Scrappy Will. Seriously.
I'll take free tickets to a Rockies game in July when it's 85 degrees and I can go hang on the party deck. How's that sound?
All right. Well, we'll see. We're fixing to find out on Sunday.
Okay, well, maybe we can almost make a bet too, because we are talking 2 backup QBs. I actually pulled the stats for both of them so far. I know Brett's technically only played in one game, and then last game because Russ got hurt. Colt McCoy's 3. What's the over under on 3 and outs for this game? Because I'm expecting a lot of punting. Anybody?
3 and outs. For I'll put the over under at 10.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the math in my head of what would be really bad for both teams. Probably about 2 to 3.5. So D-Max over under is a really good number, because if you average that out, it's about 5.5 combined. I think 10's good. We'll set it at 9.5 and try to get some action on it.
You guys, that's so like, that's the other thing about this game though, is it could literally be so boring unless the Broncos defense really comes out and shine, and it is just turnover season for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm getting distracted. I guess I got to tell you this inside scoop. So I'm at the Broncos facility right now, and I apologize for getting squirrely here. I parked where I didn't think anybody would be bothering me at all, in the side of a parking lot. A guy in a little snow plow is shoveling snow right next to my car, like right now. And he's throwing me off. My tripod is all askew. It's like, hey, dude, give me a second, will you? I mean, you got all day to shovel the snow 2 inches from my freaking car. I cannot believe that just happened. He almost like ran into my car with a snowplow. But the sun is going to do its magic here in Colorado. You want to talk about an unnecessary job right now? The snowplow operators plowing snow in sun. That dude just came like an inch from my car. You got to see. Do you see any parking? Look at. There's nothing, right? Nothing. There's the snowplow. Do you see him? There he goes. You guys see him right there?
Yep.
I got you.
He's killing me. I'm sorry about that. It's just like I just got wiped out by the snowplow. All right, that's terrible. My bad.
I thought you were gonna tell me you see like Sierra walking in, or like Ross is walking in, or something like that, and I was gonna be like, "Oh, give me the details. Like, what's going on?" Just the snowplow.
I just got you were on coffee break when things were good, and Sierra and the family came by. We had that moment on coffee break, back when we liked everybody. So, all right, I'm just gonna leave it alone. Sorry to interrupt. My bad. I went squirrel because I almost got wiped out by the world's smallest unnecessary snowplow. My bad.
Squirrel. Oh my gosh. Okay. The other question we got yesterday, which is actually an interesting conversation, it was from Ryan, and he said, who got the better contract? Is it Broncos or is it the Cardinals? Because obviously they both gave contracts to their quarterbacks with Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. Obviously both are not performing to the level that we thought. So it opened up kind of just this interesting, like, who technically got the better contract with the better player, Will?
Yeah, better's a weird word there, right? I would go, who got the worst contract? Who got catfished, as Derek Wolfe likes to say on the drive? Who gave out the bad money the most? And I think it's the Broncos just because of the age. Now, that said, Kyler Murray can't put the Xbox controller down. We all know that. He tears his ACL. I hope he gets better, but that's a lot of Call of Duty he's got in between rehab the next 8-9 months. So Russ, no one's going to question his work ethic and how much he wants it. Is Russ quirky? Yeah. Is he robot? Yeah. But I think Russ is a competitor. Kyler, they had to put language in his deal that he would watch film because he was that lazy. So it's a coin flip, but it's probably Russ because of the age. I mean, he's 10 years older than Kyler.
Interesting. Okay. So I looked up both of their contracts too. So they're both supposed to be free agents in 2029. Ooh, that hurts a little bit. So here's Murray's. I did love how they had to add the workout when we pull up Russ's in just a second. There's no workout thing like there is for Kyler. But your potential out is 2028, leaving him with 1 year. But when you look at Russ's, now, his potential out is 2026. So obviously, if they both continue playing this way, I almost think Murray's is the catfish contract, because really you're kind of stuck with him for even longer, D-Mac.
That's a tough one, man. I still have. Man, that's tough. But see, that's weird because he got hurt. So obviously it sort of stings you more because you don't get him at all.
But technically, Russ is also hurt. You said to bench him for the rest of the season, so we're kind of in the same spot.
Well, I said just do a post June 1st designation and get rid of him. That's what I've said. Hashtag stuck with Russ. Never mind, let's ride. It's hashtag stuck with Russ. I think the Broncos have it worse because at the end of the day, you've got a younger player who hopefully bounces back and can provide you with some excitement. Like there's still a upward trajectory theoretically with Kyler Murray. That doesn't exist with Russell Wilson. You've got to operate in the confinements of his ability, not anticipate the upside of Kyler Murray. It's all down for Russell Wilson. It's not up. You can win with it, but you got to operate within his restraints. Kyler's different.
Why do you think Kyle's different?
He's just younger. He's younger. ACL.
When you have a torn ACL, how hard is it to come back from?
I was amazed. D-Mac, amazed. After going through ACL and meniscus surgery, I could not believe within 18 months, and I'm an older guy, obviously, but I was back to doing things that I hadn't even previously done before or hadn't done in a long time. ACLs do heal remarkably well, and they have for many, many guys. So I have no doubts that he'll be able to come back and be virtually the same. Russ is different. Age is undefeated. You just get worse in general as you get older. And, that plateaus at a certain point. Kyler Murray still will have many, many years of great athleticism in front of him. And I think those days are numbered for Russell Wilson.
Interesting. I just look at Kyler and I feel like he hasn't lived up to the potential at all. So we talk all the time about, draft picks or whoever you want to be. And you're like, oh, you've got this huge potential, but you've just never lived up to it. But I feel like he should be at the point where this should have been the prime and things obviously weren't working that well.
Well, and yeah, I mean, the work ethic stuff is real. Like I'm joking about it with the Call of Duty and the Xbox jokes, but again, you don't put that language in the contract unless it's real. So yes, I'm with you, Rachel. Kyler is kind of doing this, he's kind of plateauing. Whereas you look in Philly, Jalen Hurts is doing this. That's what they expected out of Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts probably going to win MVP, decent chance to play in a Super Bowl. Meanwhile, Kyler's going to get his head coach fired, probably going to get his GM fired, and now all of Arizona probably feels like they're locked into this horrible contract. So talk about two guys going in different directions, no doubt.
Jalen Hurts, do you think he wins MVP?
Yeah.
Right now he does.
Yeah. It's him and Mahomes, but guys, Mahomes throwing 3 picks against the lowly Broncos did him no favors when Jalen went to New York and hung 50 on the Giants?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has been absolutely remarkable. The Eagles have the best record. It's not to say Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or these guys are having bad years, but hey, you got to give credit where credit's due. And it's been amazing for Jalen Hurts. Good for him and good for the Eagles.
Also, how about Baker Mayfield winning NFC Player of the Week, you guys?
I did not even know that. That is hysterical. That is actually awesome. I friggin' love that. That is fantastic.
Well, and you look at it, that's kind of ties into the news yesterday, right? That Moody gets claimed by the Raiders.
How about that?
When he played well at the guard position, Wattenberg stunk. They brought in Moody and Quinn Bailey, and it got better. The offense looked the best it had all year. And George Paton, he knows as well as anyone because he did it with the Saints and Latavius Murray. If the dude's on your practice squad, he's at risk. They were putting Mike Boone on IR. They knew they were going to have a roster spot. They had to get Moody into that roster spot. And George Paton, asleep at the wheel, didn't do it. Passed on Baker, and now Moody's a Raider. Maybe he's a good drafter. Maybe he's a good scouter. He's got to be more plugged in on the day-to-day stuff.
Well, and I was listening to Orlando Franklin right before coffee break on the Players Club on the Fan. And Orlando, who's very tied into the offensive line world, he said Moody did. So the Raiders put a claim in for him when Moody was put back to the practice squad, okay? Mm-hmm. The Broncos were alerted, according to Orlando, that had happened. The Broncos tried to sign Moody to the 53 of the Broncos. Moody chose the Raiders, according to Orlando Franklin. So it's not that they just lost him, which you're right, they did. He couldn't wait to get out of here. And do you blame him? I mean, why did you start Luke Wattenberg, a center, over me, who I've been training, and a draft pick? Moody was a draft pick too. That was the most bizarre decision, and you might have lost Moody either way. You devalued him, and then you couldn't, and he goes to your rival, and you couldn't get him back here. I mean, that is a unbelievable loss for the Broncos. Unbelievable, especially when you consider the future for Dalton Risner is definitely like up in the air. That actually may help Dalton Risner, that you really don't have a better alternative, and you might not have a better one in the draft. That might have really helped Dalton right there.
Wow. That's actually kind of crazy, but it's also not very surprising considering that we know so many players are frustrated what's going on with the front office of this team. So it just shows kind of an ugly side to what's going on inside those doors there at UC Health Training Center. Oof.
Would rather go play for Josh McDaniels and be in Vegas and deal with this and tell George Paton, nah, peace out, dude. And remember, guys, Moody was a 2020 draft class pick. Mason and I talked about it last night. George Paton does not like the 2020 draft class because that was the last John Elway draft class. All the decisions made about this roster way favor George Paton, guys, over John Elway, guys. Moody, the latest casualty from a John Elway draft.
You just don't have much depth on that offensive line. To lose a guy like Moody for bizarre reasons, and he chose to go to the Raiders? Dude, another stab in the heart.
Ugh. We already know how D-Mac feels about George Paton. Are you get Paton out of here, Will?
Yeah, because you can't sit here and tell me, oh, well, he found Baron Browning and he found Greg Dulcich. With a GM, I'm just going big picture. Guys, he's made 3 big decisions, and all 3 were disasters. He hired Hackett. He traded for Wilson. He extended Wilson. Okay, that's enough to sink this ship to 3-10. Probably going to finish 4-13, 5-12, maybe even 3-14. If you're Greg Penner and you're brand new to football, you don't care about Baron Browning and Greg Dulcich and some gems in the draft. You care about the big decisions. Paton, 3 strikes and you're out on big decisions. See ya.
You know who else could find Browning and Dulcich? Auto draft. It's not that difficult, guys. And I went through this exercise. I looked at the pick after the Broncos pick for the past 2 years. I mean, is George Paton that big of a genius? So I went through both drafts and looked at the pick after the Broncos. And guys, I'm telling you, it's about 50-50. 50% of the time, okay, the Broncos guy is better. 50% of the time, the other guy was better. And there were a couple that were just kind of like even. You couldn't really tell. I'm telling you, auto draft does the same thing for late round picks. It's not that big of a deal. You're not a genius because you figured out an available tight end in the 3rd round and a linebacker that you converted to a different position than when he was drafted with Baron Browning. And you don't even get credit for 7th round Jonathan Cooper, okay? You really don't. A big reason these guys are playing is because of your failure. You understand that? It was a failure that perhaps is Randy Gregory, sadly, because of injury. A failure that you had to trade Bradley Chubb because you didn't have any draft picks for Russell Wilson. It's a failure that these guys are playing at all. Now, I think Dulcich actually does have quite a bit of talent, and I'm glad he's on the team. That's fine. But, guys, it's not that hard. It really isn't. What's hard, like Will said, coach, quarterback. Those are your biggest responsibilities as a GM, and George Paton has been terrible at both of the main things that he's responsible for. Who gives a crap about the back end of the roster? I mean, seriously, guys, anybody can really do that. Oh, you bring in guys to try out on Tuesday. Wow. How did you figure that one out? You decided to fly to do all the coaching interviews when everybody's doing everything on Zoom. What a gargantuan waste of time that was. I mean, tell me what's good. Tell me what he's really nailed that mattered with this Broncos team, who is arguably in his 2nd year the worst Broncos team of all time. But yet we're keeping George Paton. Oh, okay. That's smart. I would get rid of Paton. I would get rid of Hackett. I would get rid of Wilson. You bottom out. You finish how you finish, and you start from scratch. Because what coach is going to want to have George Paton overseeing what he's doing? Jim Harbaugh won't want that. Sean McVay won't want that. Can you hire 100 other first-timers? Sure, absolutely. There's 100 other guys out there that would be begging for this job because it would be their first time. Strike one. VJ, strike two. Fangio, strike three. Hackett, you're out. But yet we're going to hang in there and we're killing ourselves to figure out how Russell Wilson works, who's going to turn 35 next year during the season. I'm sorry, you triggered me, guys. I mean, I don't know what to say here because we're hemming and hawing about what to do with Hackett. Give me a break. Get rid of George Paton. Have a different direction about how you're going to do everything. What are we waiting for?
Okay, so there's a lot of talk going on right now that possibly people are believing Nathaniel Hackett could stay for another year. Like there's just talk about it. There's no evidence or whatever. The only people that really know this are the Penners because of whatever they're going to do at the end of the season. But you guys, if Nathaniel Hackett does come back next year, do you have any faith in this football team at all? And will Broncos country completely give up?
Well, I have faith because, listen, you can use the same strategy you use for Tim Tebow. You can bolster the offensive line. Russell Wilson will have to run the ball 4 to 6 times a game. You can convert better third downs, and hopefully you get Randy Gregory and some better defensive things going on. In that strategy, you win 8 games. Well, that's it, though.
I'll take that right now.
You asked if we would give up, if Broncos country would give up. I don't think people would give up, but they would be in prove-it mode, Rachel. I would be curious, is there more media at training camp or more fans on the Hill? Is there more people on this side of the building or more people on that side of the building? Enthusiasm would be at an all-time low if you brought back Nathaniel Hackett, and I hope Greg Penner realizes that because fans are not going to get excited about Hackett going 4-13 and then getting a second year.
Yeah. Fans on the Hill, that's a weird one, Will, because most of the fans that stay on the Hill, they're just there for autographs, and Russell Wilson gives autographs. So as long as you know you're going to get something signed by Russell Wilson, again, that's a weird barometer. Fans prove they're going to show up for Kansas City games. Denver, Colorado is still an awesome place to come for visiting teams. Fans will get excited because they'll buy into we're healthy and we have drafted a right tackle or whatever we do. No, you'll see the enthusiasm for the Broncos. There'll be a lot of excuses made. Hackett's more experienced. They barely lost games. They were injured. I can see it right now. That hill's going to be fine, man. I'm telling you, that hill's going to be filled as long as they're still doing autographs. Either the fans are really, really dumb, which I don't think they are, or the essence of sports at the end of the day is optimism. We have to be the cynics. Fans in general are optimists.
Okay, last one. Make it short because we are going to bring in Mark Schlereth here in just a second. But is there more hope in Nathaniel Hackett or is the hope in Russell Wilson, Will?
Oh, the hope's in Russell Wilson. He made 9 Pro Bowls in 10 years in Seattle. He made 2 Super Bowls. He won 1. He should have won 2. That guy's proven it over and over again. Nathaniel Hackett's a nice guy. He's had some success as an offensive coordinator, but if you compare the resumes, it's Wilson. It's not even close. That's where the hope lies.
Get rid of Hackett, man. Get rid of Hackett. Okay, sounds good. Well, we are going to go inside the game with Mark Schlereth. Will, as always, thank you so much for hanging out with us for the last 35 minutes. D-Mac, I've got another question for you as soon as we're done, so stick around. All right, Mark Schlereth coming in for Inside the Game, presented by Bet Rivers Sportsbook. Mark, hello, my friend. Oh, you are back home. You're back in Colorado. How was New York?
New York was good. It was a good time. Not a lot. Yeah, I came home on Monday, and I pretty much tried to catch up on 10 days of sleep on one day. So it's good to be home for a little bit.
I was going to say New York, and then what game did you cover last week?
Last week I did Seattle at Carolina. So I got in a plane right after we did our stuff on Thursday and flew across country to Seattle. So for that game. Okay,
well, we're talking about it being the backup QB battle because while we don't know Russell Wilson's out, we're assuming he's out with a concussion. And obviously Kyler Murray tears his ACL. Again, prayers for speedy recovery for him. But are you going, let's go for Brett Rippon, over or under half of a touchdown pass for him?
Oh, I'll go over.
Oh.
Yeah, I think Brett Rippon will orchestrate the offense very well. I think we saw Jerry Jeudy kind of fit in very nicely as he moved from kind of a slot receiver over to individual side X receiver into the boundary. So I think that was, I think there was a real good connection there. So I think that continues, and I'm going to go over.
Are you surprised with how well Jerry Jeudy played, switching out of his normal position?
No, you know what? Because I'm not. I guess I'm not surprised. I think that I think it's a much better position ultimately for Russ to be able to find and be able to focus on one guy. So when you get kind of a rotation, you get the defense you want based upon that one dude. That guy's just got to beat somebody off the ball, and you can throw him a slant, you can throw him a comeback, you can throw him a scout route on the outside, whatever the route is. But you're really only looking at one guy. So I think it's beneficial to Russell. I think that's what Russell did a lot in Seattle that made him very successful. And the fact that Cortland hasn't been able to get that instant separation, that has been taken away, or that part doesn't really exist over there with Cortland Sutton, where all of a sudden it opened itself up. 8 targets and 8 completions. It really opened itself up, and so that was a good thing. So I think it was really it was more beneficial to Russ than it was to Jerry Jeudy.
Okay, we were talking about this, myself and DMAC, yesterday. If you can, do you trade Cortland Sutton?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, and I had talked about this on our show in the morning. I go back to, having conversations with Larry Fitzgerald about this, and also having conversations with Bruce Arians about this. When Bruce Arians came into Arizona, Larry Fitzgerald had been a lifelong X and been a Pro Bowl X receiver and been a great, on that away from the tight end, away from the strong side of the formation. And Bruce came in and said, "Hey man, you've lost some of your juice, and you're older, and I'm gonna move you inside where you can help us, do some of the blocking stuff and be more involved in the play action stuff." And Larry Fitzgerald was adamant against it. I've talked to Larry about this at many times, and he goes adamant against it. But Bruce guaranteed him, "Hey, listen, you're going to be a focal point still. You can still have unbelievable success here." And Larry went on to catch 115 balls a year, and he was a Pro Bowl multiple times over, moving in that kind of slot receiver position, the F as we call it in the West Coast offense. And and he's a big-bodied guy, but he'd lost some of that quickness at the top of his route, but he could still post guys up. He could still, win inside. And it was an incredible move for him. And I could see them making that same concession or asking Cortland Sutton to make that move as well. And I think he could be good in there. But right now he just lacks, at the top of his route, he lacks explosiveness. He lacks separation skills. At the top of his route ever since he had that ACL. And, he was never the fastest guy anyhow, but he's lost some of that juice at the top. So I think that's a move that would eventually really help him out. And I think it helps the team out because we saw how well Jerry Jeudy played kind of in that role.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll go back to our over or under 2.5 turnovers for the Broncos defense. They've been keeping them alive in games for sure.
Let's go. I think we're going to go under on that. Okay. I think Colt McCoy is, although obviously not as dynamic an athlete as Kyler Murray, he'll keep you on schedule. He won't take chances with the football. He'll keep you on schedule. It'll be a close enough game because both teams are not very good. So it'll be a close enough game to where you're not forced to throw it into a team meeting. You're not down 14 and have to try to rally back in. So I think they'll both play a conservative game, and I think that's kind of the way both these teams will look at this.
What's your score prediction for Sunday?
I'm gonna take the Broncos. I'm gonna say 23-20 Broncos.
Okay, offense is getting rolling a little bit. What game do you have?
I am in New Orleans for Atlanta at New Orleans.
Okay, fun. And who are you taking in that one? Well, I guess you can't really say that, so never mind. I'll leave you out of that, Mark.
Yeah, well, Desmond Ritter's going to get his first start of his NFL career. So 3rd round choice out of Cincinnati, who has set all kinds of NCAA records. So it'll be fun to get to see him get his first start, to see what he's all about. And the cool thing about that division is all these games down the stretch. Carolina last week beat Seattle. That I called that game. Arizona and Atlanta, or excuse me, Atlanta and New Orleans. I mean, all these games mean something. Like the winner of that division is going to be under 500. They're going to be under 500. So I'm not so sure that right now that New Orleans or Carolina can't win this division. And because I don't think Tampa's going to win it. They just look like they have, they have waved the white flag, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, they just look like they're done. So we'll see.
We're seeing more and more frustrated Tom Brady, that's for sure. Clips are emerging all over the internet. But Mark, as always, a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for the time, and safe travels this weekend.
Thank you. Take care, Rachel. Bye-bye.
Thanks. All right, Inside the Game presented by Bet River Sportsbook as we bring back in DMAC, you're getting here ready to go over for Broncos media in just a few minutes. Nathaniel Hackett going to be talking. Quarterback going to be talking later, or did they announce that they're talking at the same time?
That's a good question. I think that is a little up in the air right now. So sometimes things are fluid, and that's one of these fluid days.
I think it'll depend on if it's Brett or Russ who's talking. And again, we're all assuming Brett, so it'll be interesting.
Oh man, I don't know. I think there's still a possibility Russ plays. I think if he clears the protocol, I think he'll play. So I don't think he should. But what should happen and what I think will happen are oftentimes two different things. Not sure, but stick around. We'll be covering it all throughout the day.
Absolutely. Follow DMAC on Twitter. He always uploads clips from the pressers, and we appreciate it. Okay, so my question to you is, there are, we're talking about this head coaches and like what coaches would want to come to the Broncos. There's only 32 head coaching jobs, DMAC. And even if you're maybe not a huge fan of who could possibly be your boss or who your quarterback is, I feel like these people that want to be head coaches in the NFL are strong-willed and think that they can change people. So I don't know why we are thinking that that's going to stop people from applying to these jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you can always overwhelm people with money and power. The question in life, Rachel, is what options do you have? And so that's what it's really all about. Yes, there are 100 first-time coaches that you could easily hire. No problem. They would be thrilled to be here. Those are like the BJs of the world. Fangio, I don't know. I don't think he even wanted to be a head coach, but he's cheap and he couldn't turn down the money. So, you convinced him to come here because he, had one cliche that John Elway bought, and then there's Hackett, who obviously was brought here, Rachel, as bait and encouragement for Aaron Rodgers. Okay. Yep. So now what is your motivation if you're Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh? You'd have to overwhelm them, Rach, with cash and power you could do it. I mean, I heard Mike and Mark talk about it, and Mike suggested for Harbaugh or Payton, a 10-year, $250 million guaranteed deal. So $25 million a year. I mean, it's easy to throw around somebody else's money, but Mike Evans pointed out that Bill Belichick makes around $20 million for everything he does with the Patriots. So sure, I mean, if you threw $250 million 10-year guaranteed towards Payton or Harbaugh, you probably get them. You probably do. And you know what? You would have to do something like that. And I'm not against it if you think those are the guys. But they have to want to do it too, Rachel. It's hard to imagine them turning it down. But they're both two kind of quirky guys that don't really need money. Not really. So I don't know with those two guys. And by the way, there's no guarantee with those two guys either because you got to deal with Russell Wilson. We're in a bad spot. So if you want to get one of those guys here's why one of those guys would be interesting. They would usurp the power of George Paton. They would be in charge, not George Paton. I want to get rid of George Paton. Okay, well, that sort of clicks that box. They would not feel bad about benching Russell Wilson if they had to. That is not what you get right now. And if you have a less powerful coach, he won't feel the power to be able to bench Russell Wilson, which may have to happen. So I like those two guys because they essentially replace Hackett, Payton, and Russell Wilson. It's kind of a virtual replacement. So fine if you can get those two guys. If you can't, Rachel, you may as well bring back Hackett Because if you don't, if you just fire Hackett, whoever you hire, Rachel, will be the next guy for the next 3 years, no matter what. And George Paton will be here for the next 3 years, no matter what, if they get to do that. Period. So if that's a disaster, you can't just move on from those guys in a year's time. But if you bring back Hackett and it fails again, you can replace all three, which is what I want to do. And Rachel, if it works, fine, great. I mean, that's even better. So I see no need to bring in some sort of, rehashed dude that you can't guarantee is going to be better, who's not going to have a different philosophical approach than move on from Russell Wilson. And if you bring in a less than, they will not feel like they can move on from Russell Wilson.
So you definitely can't get a first-time head coach. That's
you can, Rachel, but it's the same problems.
Exactly.
You're going to have the same problems, and you're going to throw away the year that you just put into this first-time head coach. You can do it. It would be a mistake.
And you don't think that any veteran head coach, unless they got paid buku bucks, would want to come here?
There's only two guys. It's Sean Payton.
I mean, there's more. There's got to be more. There's rumors that Bill Belichick's going to leave the Patriots. Like, there's lots of rumors that are going around. Yes, but we've also heard that maybe, Sean Payton doesn't even want to leave broadcasting. He's making great money doing that. So,
right.
They're all rumors right now.
Rachel, that's a better option. He's got a great option. Harbaugh has perhaps at Michigan a better option. It's hard to get those guys. That's why you have to overwhelm them with cash and power. It's the
Jake
only
says
way
Mike McCarthy. Yes or no?
What?
Mike McCarthy.
No.
Why no?
Well, Rachel, here's the problem. Do we still have George Paton? Do we still have Russell Wilson?
Yes.
Yeah, see, in
I
my
don't
world,
see those two being gone.
Rachel, in my world, it's about moving on from those three. So, again, this is where I really struggle. You can blow out Hackett, but I don't think that's the core problem. I think the core problem is Russell Wilson. I think you can make it better. You can mitigate him. You can sort of handle him, but that's no way to win a championship. No way is that the way to win a championship. It may win you 8, 9, I don't know, knock on wood, maybe 10 games, but it is not going to win you a championship, and you're not going to be more successful with a less athletic quarterback. It's not going to happen, Rachel. I'm bummed that that's the case. I wish it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to be that way, but it is. What do you want me to do? Sugarcoat it? Sorry, I can't. But hope springs eternal. And if you just get rid of Hackett, all of a sudden everybody's going to be like, oh, wow, that's fantastic. I say you hang in there, and then you can get rid of all three next year a lot easier, and just start all over again. Or it works. But committing to George Paton for another 3 years, or to Dan Quinn, or to Leslie Frazier, or to Frank Reich for 3 years, I think that's crazy.
Okay, well, I'm bummed that this conversation has to end because I love talking with you, DMAC, but I do know you need to get inside. That way you can hear Nathaniel Hackett speak. Keep us up to date up on your Twitter. Also, everybody check out denverfan.com. We do wraps for all that you hear at the pressers, too, if you're unable to listen. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We see the comments. Josh, I appreciate you hanging out with us. You're noticing some regulars here. Thank you guys so much for all your love, all your comments, for hanging out with us every single morning. We're back tomorrow morning. Stokely and Zach and Mike Evans will join us. We'll see you 10:30 a.m. Bye, everybody.